I first got connected with PJALS when I was actually organizing in Seattle and heard PJALS present about the work they were doing, having folks tell their authentic stories to people in Congress, things that were working on making actual change.
I ended up going to a workshop that Liz Moore was conducting. There was an initiative being proposed to be placed on the ballot that would possibly implicate every single person who was either a different color, spoke with an accent.
I got involved with PJALS because of Proposition 1 that would roll back the rights and the protection for immigrants and refugees.
It was going to empower any city employee to ask for documentation, and I took exception to that, and I thought, my goodness, my son is just turning 15 and he could be parking at a meter and he could get asked by the person collecting change from the meter, say, show me your documentation. I remember standing up at the end of that workshop and saying, I'm starting a movement right here, that we are going to voice our disagreement about having this initiative placed on the ballot. Liz Moore turned around and said, fine, come join our No Discrimination Spokane. I became part of that coalition. I co-chaired it with Puyan.
And I got involved because the organizations that I was part of, they were in the lawsuit against Prop 1.
And we ended up becoming a group of 28 different organizations by the time we stopped. And we defeated that proposition. This is the kind of stuff that PJALS do.
Nancy and Rusty said they would have a dinner and you could auction the dinner off. There were 10 or 12 people who bought the dinner and were going to go to their homes. I got a much better idea of what they do and how they go about it. They had steps and things to put into place on how they would advocate for poor people or people of color or gay and lesbian folk.
Before I joined YALP, I feel like I was very just like an angry person because I didn't really, I was just in middle school and I didn't really understand a lot of this stuff. Why I was feeling this way, I didn't understand that it was because of these systems that are meant to work against so many people. I was at the Women's March and I picked up a YALP flyer. This was in January of 2019. And I took it home and my dad was like, oh, I know somebody that's involved with PJALS. And so I went to YALP and I was super engaged and really involved. And then at the end of that year, I was asked to come on staff to actually run the program, and I've been doing that ever since.
In 1996-97, we started developing a human rights ordinance for the city of Spokane. The ordinance was passed. Some of the citizens put it on the initiative to get on the ballot, but PJALS was there and provided the support that was necessary for us to win that ballot initiative. And this is the first time in the state of Washington that an LGBT issue had been won at the ballot box.
And then once I started to get involved and get a little bit more connected to staff and other members, I definitely felt like this is a good organizing home for me. This feels like my people and people who are having shared values around racial justice and economic justice.
The success of social movements is not just coming from charismatic leader, but it comes from everyday people deciding that I have a part in it, I wanted to do something about it, and I think PJAL's role is to help people realize that.
The training of young activists. And I'm really excited to see the effort that goes into that project and the results of the students that have completed the program and having an impact in their communities.
Really learning from people who want to give you their experience and their knowledge is something that I really want to make sure I'm never taking for granted, because as a young person, experiencing adults and people that are older than you who really do want to listen to you is something that you don't always get in a school setting.
There's strength in numbers. We need the voices. We need people to come to us and say, yes, I believe in you and I agree with you and I will stand by you. This is why I stay engaged, because I have chosen to make Spokane my new home. I'm an immigrant, and therefore what it means is that I've built this community around me.
At the beginning of the pandemic, when we started to see the rise of anti-Asian American racism, we at APIC were thinking about what we could do. And so we thought, okay, maybe we could work together with PJALS to offer bystander intervention training specifically about the anti-Asian racism. And I think we were actually one of the first organizations, PJALS and APEC to offer that training before. 2 small organizations in Spokane, we were taking the lead.
Solidarity to me means when we have each other's backs across issues. It means pushing myself when I'm uncomfortable.
Where we stand together to jointly meet the needs of everyone.
Supporting the people who are already making that change and who have laid the foundation for you to be there.
Lending them your voice and your vigor and your enthusiasm and your heart.
I think it takes a lot of self-reflection because we are part of the system. We have inherited part of the power hierarchy and how it affects the way that we work together.
A just future for all means that we all have established every individual's worth.
A community or a world where everyone is thriving, there are not a privileged few who are experiencing the benefits of change.
Housing and the ability to find mortgages and not be charged extra because there are 2 men sitting in front of you as opposed to a man and a woman.
People should not have to worry about going to the police when they need help, where might be even a world where we don't even need the police to begin with, because all of these root causes for crime will not be there anymore.
Mass movements have gained a lot of power, and those movements, like us, these community organizing, have to include the people that are most affected from the very beginning.
The day that we're all accepted to be what we are and we're all the same and we're all normal and we all have worth, we'll be out of a job. That's what it's going to mean for PJALS.
Unfortunately, in all of my years, I'm now retired, I never reached that objective. And so PJALS needs to continue to be there to do the work.
Listening to its members that is a collaborative process, as well as one that is directed and led by people who are most impacted, because those are the folks with the most knowledge.
We are continuing to build an interracial, cross-class, and multi-generational movement.
While we are working towards all these injustices, inequities, we have fun in the process, and I think that is very important. I do think of joy is a part of the resistance.
I am proud to be part of PJALS, and I know there are new people and more people joining us every single day because people believe that just future exists for all of us.